Hi, my name's Lyndall Trevena. I'm a GP in Australia and a professor at the University of Sydney. This brief video is designed for people who have been offered the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine and are trying to make a decision about whether to take up that offer or not. It's designed to go with a paper tool that's 2 pages and to be printed off on double-sided onto one sheet of paper as a tool for you to discuss what's important to you with your GP, nurse or pharmacist, the person who is going to give you your immunisation, so that you can make an informed decision about what's right for you. So you have this decision, and we've set this up so that the options are that you either have the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine at this time or not. We haven't set this up as being a tool that compares one vaccine against another. The main reason for this is that there haven't really been any studies that have looked at the 2 vaccines or one vaccine against another side by side in a randomised trial. The other thing to consider is that there's in many places, there's very limited supplies of particularly the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine at the moment. And you might be considering whether it's really important for you to have this particular vaccine or not. And I'd encourage you to look at the videos and the other resources I've posted up about the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. If you look at both of these, you may find that you choose not to have the Pfizer vaccine because you'd rather let another portion of our community have this much needed and very limited resource. So your options are whether to have the vaccine or not, and you should think first about, well, what are the benefits if I do get it? Now, in this slide on the left-hand side, you'll see 1,000 dots that represent 1,000 people who do not have the vaccine. And one of the problems in thinking about whether to get vaccinated or not is that we can't see into the future, and we can't tell how many people are going to get COVID-19. We don't know if there's going to be another outbreak around the corner. We don't know if that comes, how big or how small it will be. So for argument's sake, for the purposes of developing this tool, I've based these estimates on some of the sort of rates of COVID infection that we saw in the United States in 2020. So let's say about 90 people out of those 1,000 unvaccinated individuals get COVID. And of those, you'll see in the red dots down the bottom, 3 will die from COVID-19. The orange dots, 22 people will get severe COVID-19 and end up in hospital. And the purple dots, 65 people will get mild COVID-19 disease. And they won't have to go to hospital. 910 people, the little grey dots, people that 910 out of the 1,000 won't get COVID-19 as they will have been not in contact with people who have it, been socially distancing and restricting their movements and all of those other sorts of things. On the right-hand side, 1,000 people who do get the vaccine. And you'll see down the bottom, you still have 5 purple dots. So 5 people out of the 1,000 vaccinated will still get COVID-19, but they'll get milder disease. They'll be able to get better at home. The really interesting thing in this is that you'll see out of all those vaccinated people, there are no orange or red dots. So it's almost extremely rare. It's almost down to 0, the number of people who will get serious disease, end up in hospital or die. Why do those 5 people get COVID-19 if they've been vaccinated? Well, no vaccine is 100% effective, and there'll always be a small proportion of people whose immune system hasn't mounted a good enough response, or for some reason they haven't developed enough immunity to fully protect them. So the next thing to think about is, what are the serious harms of the two options that I'm facing? What are the serious harms of getting COVID-19? Or on the flip side, what are the serious harms of getting the Pfizer vaccine? On the left-hand side, again, you'll see 1,000 dots representing 1,000 people. This time it's 1,000 people who get COVID-19. And you'll see that the coloured dots represent people who get serious harms from that infection. Down the bottom, there's red dots representing 27 people who will die from COVID-19. The orange dots represent 13 people who will end up on a ventilator with COVID-19 infection. The brown dots are 41 people who will end up with in ICU with their COVID-19 infection, and the blue dots, 69 people who will have serious enough infection to warrant going into hospital, but they don't end up in ICU. So quite a lot of people with serious COVID-19, and most of those who go to hospital will have some form of long COVID. And long COVID is where you have persistent symptoms at least 3 months or more after you've had the infection. And in some people, it's been reported that they still have symptoms after a year, and because this is a new illness that's only been around, this infection's only been around the pandemic for 18 months at this point, we don't really know how long some long COVID patients will suffer. And interestingly, you'll see the purple dots there are people who have milder infections, but they still get long COVID. 127 out of those 1,000 people with infection will have long COVID after a mild illness. So it's quite not just serious chance of dying, but also long-term, potentially longer-term effects. And we're learning more and more about that as we go. On the right-hand side, on the other hand, there's 1,000 dots representing 1,000 people who get the Pfizer vaccine. And you'll see there's one small dark black dot in the bottom left-hand corner of this grid, representing one, or actually less than one, out of those 1,000 vaccinated people who will have a serious but rare side effect. That might be an unexpected serious allergic reaction called anaphylaxis, and that can happen with any vaccine or even with some medicines. But the specific serious effect that's been linked to the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine is a type of heart inflammation called myocarditis or pericarditis. It happens rarely, in about 0.001 out of those 1,000 vaccinated people, but it is more common in younger people, particularly younger men. We don't know a lot about this at this point in time. It has been reported in the literature, and it has been particularly reported on by the CDC in the United States, where they've given out a lot of Pfizer vaccines. So there's the comparison of the serious harms of COVID-19 infection on the left-hand side if you don't get vaccinated and you get COVID. If you do get vaccinated, there's rare but serious side effects as well. That's a summary of those for you. So now you need to think about weighing up the benefits and the harms and working out what's right for you. And this final slide gives you a few suggestions on things that might be important to you in making that decision. The idea is that you check the box, or maybe even write down other things underneath that are important to you that we haven't listed. And you can talk to your doctor, pharmacist or nurse about those. So on the plus side for getting the vaccine, it might be important for you to avoid getting COVID-19 infection yourself. It might be also important that you avoid others getting it. It might also be important to you that you reduce the need for restrictions like border closures and lockdowns. On the other side, though, things that might be important to you that sway you against getting the vaccine might be avoiding those rare but serious vaccine side effects. Or there might be other reasons that you decide against the vaccine, such as you are thinking that you'll make the scarce resource of Pfizer vaccines available perhaps to a younger person or somebody in a more vulnerable group who needs it, and you might think about one of the other vaccines that's available. Everybody will have different things that are important to them, and the idea is that you will jot those down and it might help you make the decision. So I hope that's been useful and helps you decide. Please feel free to share on this resource. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel so that you get notified when there are new videos and updates to these resources. And if you do share or adapt or use the material, all we ask is that you acknowledge the source, and please feel free to get in contact with me and provide some feedback if you found this useful. Thank you.